Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a new storm that we will have to watch for closely because it will bring the chance for some snowfall for parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley as we go over the next few days. We're also watching for a secondary blast of cold air to impact the United States as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday that could bring freezing temperatures as far south as Georgia and Alabama. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, but let's begin with what's happening across the United States today. And we'll first begin with the Great Plains, and this is an area that it's been very active over the last 24 hours. We've seen freezing rain, we've seen snow, we've seen heavy rainfall leading to flooding all across the board, especially in the central and southern plains. We had actually some ice accumulation back over in the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. Overall, nothing too crazy, but did cause a little bit of travel impacts. Overall, though, we still have strong southerly winds that are pulling tons of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and that is why we're seeing all this cloud cover from Texas back into the northeast United States, and tons of rain continues to fall in parts of Texas. So this will just continue over the next 24 hours until this shot of cold air finally pushes through and we get that strong northerly wind bringing drier air along with that. That dry air is kind of well behind schedule. That's why we still have rain in the area, which was forecasted, by the way, to happen. Over in the southeast United States, we have a high pressure system that is a clockwise spin. That is why the clouds are all off to your north. So if you're down in Florida, Georgia, you're probably not seeing much cloud cover, and that would be because of that high pressure system. It's just sitting there right now. Off to the north, we'll have to watch an area closely. A low pressure system will actually dive out of Canada as we go into Monday into Tuesday, and what this will do is bring the chance for some snowfall to the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and we'll break that down in detail for you here in just a second. And then on the west coast of the United States, still fairly dry, no changes there, and it'll stay that way here for the next few days. Now, with all this being said, there are a ton of watches and warnings across the United States for freeze warnings, freeze watches. We still have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories even going right now, but one of the big things we'll have to watch for over the next 24 hours are these freeze warnings, because the first freeze of the year is in the forecast for much of the Midwest and even through parts of the southern plains. We officially have freeze warnings in effect as far south as north central Texas near the Wichita Falls region, so it's obviously going to be pretty cold over the next few days. And with that even being said, we're going to have another trough dipping out of Canada as we go closer to Tuesday and as well as into Wednesday, and this will actually bring another shot of cold air, potentially impacting the southeast United States with more below freezing temperatures. So again, it's going to be very active over the next several days. The blue boxes, or the light blue boxes, are your freeze watches, by the way. So those are right now ongoing for Indiana, Kentucky, and as well as much of North Texas for right now. But obviously it's been very active, and we're going to see a big cool down coming over the next several days. Quick glance at the temperatures morning by morning. This is for tomorrow morning. Freezing line will drop as far south as North Texas, but primarily for north central Texas back into the Texas Panhandle. As we go into Tuesday morning, that freezing line drops even further down to the south. So if you're over in North Texas, potentially into Arkansas, maybe even a small sliver of very far northern Mississippi could drop below freezing going into Tuesday morning. By Wednesday morning, there's a solid chance that this freezing line goes as far south as central Mississippi and as well as central Alabama. That is crazy, by the way, for late October. Just does not happen very often where we see that cold of temperatures that far down to the south. It gives you an idea of this winter. It's going to be a very active winter. El Nino, it's going to be pretty cold overall for the southern tier of the United States, and we're already starting to feel it now as we head into the later parts of fall. And then heading into Thursday morning, it's going to be quite cold. Look how far down south this freezing line goes. It could go as far south as almost the Gulf Coast in southern Louisiana. Notice that little blue area there. That would be around, if not below, freezing temperatures. So watch this closely. Things might change a little bit since we are still a few days out, but obviously make sure you're monitoring your weather very closely, especially if you have sensitive vegetation, because we very easily could see the freezing line go as far south, again, as Louisiana, potentially even close to the Gulf Coast, which again is really unprecedented for really early November. It doesn't happen very often. Overall, though, over the next several days, we're going to be watching a lot of different weather events. So let's break down the future radar. And this is what we're looking at for today. A lot of rainfall in the southern plains, some scattered showers across parts of the northeast, and then a little bit of some snow flurries, light snow, maybe even a little bit of sleet across parts of the southern and central plains and back through the Midwest. Overall, though, very isolated stuff. By the time we get into tomorrow, rain is just going to continue in literally a straight line. It's going to continue from the northeast back into parts of the southern plains. We do have winter weather advisories in effect in parts of Maine, and that is because of the snow potential for tomorrow. A few inches of snow will be possible. By the time we go into late Monday into Tuesday, watch out for this low low pressure system in parts of the Midwest. This is the next area to watch, and the reason why is because it'll bring a chance for even some lake effect snow, and as well as just snow in general. So this will be something to watch for. Overall, it doesn't seem to be anything like a winter storm. We're not talking about a winter storm out of this. However, this will bring some of the first snowfall of the year to parts of the Midwest and even the Ohio Valley. This by Tuesday morning, going across parts of the Midwest. Eventually going into Wednesday morning, it moves across parts of the Ohio Valley. I'll show you more specific details on that in a second with the snowfall totals. By the time we go into Wednesday night, high pressure is dominating most of the United States. That is kind of going to keep that system a bit weaker overall. And eventually, as we go into next weekend, things are going to remain pretty quiet. By the time we go into next week, we might see a big winter storm explode or a big storm in general explode, but obviously we are still way far out from that. That's still about 9 to 10 days out. Things are definitely going to change over the next few days. Here's a closer look at that winter weather activity for parts of the Midwest. Notice we'll be watching for some snowfall, even some lake effect snow, by the way, in the Michigan Peninsula. But overall, going into Tuesday morning, we'll be watching for some snowfall across parts of Wisconsin, maybe even near Chicago. So you might see your first snowfall of the fall. As we go into late Tuesday night and Wednesday, there will be a chance for some more snowfall, maybe even a little bit of sleet to mix in there. We might get some lake effect snow going, so be mindful of that. That could easily increase the snowfall totals overall. Now, in terms of total snowfall, well, right now the current forecast is somewhere between a coating to a few inches. Again, it's not going to be too significant. The area that I'd be watching for, though, would be potentially into parts of central and southeastern parts of Wisconsin. That's where the heaviest of the snowfall is likely to fall. Overall, a few inches, maybe upwards of 4 to 5 inches in an isolated location. But one of the other things to watch out for will be the temperatures. They might be warm enough to keep the roadways overall clear from any sort of snowfall, because how warm the surface is and has been over the summer. It's going to kind of be hard for some of that snow to accumulate initially, and elevated surfaces would be where most of that snowfall would fall, so like rooftops and maybe onto grassy surfaces as well. Overall, the wind chills are going to get pretty cold, so notice the wind chills going into tomorrow morning into the teens. Some areas might dip into the single digits. Going into Tuesday morning, that'll be one of the colder mornings. Some areas might get close to 0 for a feels like temperature back over in parts of the Dakotas, and eventually going into Wednesday morning, similar stuff, overall teens for wind chills. And over the next several days, again, another cold shot of cold air is coming. Notice over in the Midwest, this will be our trough that is going to bring that potential winter weather event. That area will be the area to watch for another big drop in temperatures. That represents well below normal temperatures, almost near record-breaking temperatures, by the way. As we go into Thursday and Friday, warmer weather will return, and by next week, it is likely that we're going to have right back to around, if not above average, temperatures for the most part. In terms of the temperatures for the next several days, the Climate Prediction Center's issued their latest forecast, representing a large majority of the United States from Sunday, the 5th of November, until Saturday, the 11th of November. Overall, going to have above normal temperatures for much of the western tier and the southern tier of the United States. The only exception will be the northern tier of the United States, which is where it's expected to stay a bit more active with a bit more rainfall and maybe even some snow for the next week or two. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the button down below and subscribe if you've not already.